Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the TB&J podcast. With me today is Troy Brittingham.
And you're Jeff Hulk.
And D.
D-Hulk.
Sure, we can all just be Hulks. We can be derivatives of Bruce Banner.
It was weird that you didn't say that about me afterwards. You didn't correct yourself after the fact.
Theme song.
TB&J!
It's just upsetting because I painted myself green specifically for this episode, even though it's audio only.
Oh, I thought you just had the flu.
He definitely didn't listen to the last one because, A, I don't think you ever re-uploaded it. And B...
Yes, I did.
And B, he definitely didn't do the delay. He should do the delay. You should give it... If you're going to break the intro, give it a second.
I like that you branded it with your own name. It's the delay.
Right. The Troy delay.
Do you ever think that he's trying to slowly become the main character of our podcast?
No, because everything that happens in my house, and I can just lock you all out and keep doing it.
Yeah, but since day one.
I didn't say that I didn't say he'll be successful. I just said he's trying to.
Oh, I'm Littlefinger, yeah.
Ah, yes. And by the end of it, you'll be dead.
I already bought all the ISPs.
Jesus Christ, you have a lot more money than I thought you did.
I don't even know what that sentence means. So...
She-Hulk episode 2, Attorney for Hire.
Thumbs up or thumbs down, everyone.
Troy, we always start with you.
I'm going to say thumbs up with a question mark.
Alrighty, D?
I'm going to go a thumbs down for this episode.
Ooh. I am going to go thumbs down.
Okay.
I'm surprised I said that, but I feel it more.
And for everybody who doesn't know the rules, I've been explaining this a little bit. We give a thumbs up and thumbs down. We are only 2 episodes in, so after the next episode, I believe we will give a better grading on the show so far. But
grading
overall,
with a D, not a grading with a T. We're not Parmesan.
Just, for these episodes, we're just going to do this. For other things, I think we'll give for preview podcast. We always do a just thumbs up, thumbs down. But in the main, we'll give a better letter grade here. But
because the rules of the internet is everything is good or bad. So it's a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
And we can go back and give the 3 episodes letter grades after the third or during
nuance
the
is bad.
Anyway, just wanted to jump in.
Thank you for explaining, Dave.
Troy, what did you enjoy? Why is this it's a hesitant thumbs up, and you wanted to give it a thumbs up because you always want to be positive, so I get it. So you probably don't like this episode. So let's start with what you didn't like.
What I didn't like, it's the setup episode. It's a lot of nothing happening. I still like the character enough, and just the characters plural enough. Really, I think all of them, but I would have to watch it again.
There's not a character I hate yet.
No.
Is that what gives you pause about this? Is just a setup episode?
Yeah, I think that because it's episode 2, I'm giving it more leeway than I would, I think. Mm-hmm. But so far, I am enjoying it, and if 3 is... If it's every 2 episodes or so, because it's 9, right? Every 2 is a case, I'd be okay with that.
I would just... Yeah, 5. I don't want to... I'd like to look at these episodes individually, and just we can look at the kind of at the whole later. But what did you like about this one?
I like the I like again
what
all
makes
the characters.
It a thumbs up?
I like all the characters. I like the interaction with Blonsky, and I like the setup of early Blonsky, where it feels like things are happening immediately rather than, even though this is a slow episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's,
also, does the existence of Blonsky confirm Ed Norton Hulk as being canon?
Yeah, it's always been canon.
We're going to get there because I have a whole part to say about this. Yeah.
Okay, I'm excited. Keep going.
I liked the family enough. I thought they could have done more with the family dynamic, but I like the dad, and I might like Ched eventually, which is Ched, not Chet. I thought it was Chet.
I saw the
subtitle said Ched.
It's
like Chad, but even worse.
Yeah. I really like the guy who's the head of the attorney that she gets the job at later on.
H something K.
Yeah. And I think that's it for me. Nothing else comes to mind immediately.
Jeffrey, this is a thumbs down for you.
It is a thumbs down for me, and I just felt like they could have done better Let me try to more coherently arrange my thoughts.
Nuanced thoughts.
Yes. So I didn't like the weird biological thing that happened when she was She-Hulk, goes in the bar, had some alcohol, turned back into Jen, and suddenly she was just drunk with this.
Oh, I
devil
like
finger.
that a lot.
I was a big fan of that too.
It felt weird. It just felt weird.
Okay. So I think you're reacting to the scene itself, which actually I do have the note here of like it's an unnerving scene, but I don't think for the reason of just her I don't think it's like just because she's drunk. Like that wasn't the issue.
No, it was more like I don't know if that's how human biology works.
Oh, okay. So you were off by the science of it,
Which I understand. That could be how biology works.
I felt like the
science
science they set up
miffed.
at least in the first episode, which was just like, oh, we have Hulk. They literally did like the whole Hulk drinking,
faster metabolism,
and they don't get drunk, but they already said she has the Hulk size hangover. So like because when she goes to sleep, she goes back into it. So now she's dealing with the alcohol that was drank in her normal form. Now, so whatever's left over from when she last drank, I mean, I'm sure it's metabolizing super fast. It's not like it's like all the alcohol. It's whatever's left, and I'm sure it's just a lot. But so what she says is that she just in the moment before that, she took like numerous shots or like a ton of alcohol or like downed her drink and then had to revert back immediately. So it just like, I'm just saying like by the biology that they literally established in the first episode.
No, that's a very solid point that I had completely forgotten. You're absolutely right and I'm wrong.
Yeah.
No, so I take that.
Ooh.
Yeah, Troy's not very good at
He's
that.
not on the fire.
He pointed at the thing and Troy was like, what? No, but when a show follows its own rules, that actually does make me happy.
Is that what you wanted?
No, it's never what I want. You're never
that
what I want.
clearly wasn't the drop that we were looking for.
I know.
But no one besides us gets that joke. Anyway, good joke, Troy.
It always brings a smile to my face when a show sets up rules and follows those rules without really like destroying them or going like, whatever. So I had forgotten that. You pointed it out. Thank you. That actually turns that into a good thing for me.
I too changed my mind, but from someone else's ideas today in a totally unrelated note. But I just wanted to note
You're now a right winger.
No, I just have made it a point to like note every time my mind is changed.
Yeah,
because I always felt like there should be, instead of a like whatever button and all those buttons you have on social media, there should be like a "this changed my mind" button, which would be way more useful and effective. I'm just like, come on now.
Yeah.
Anywho,
And now you believe in QAnon.
Humans admitting they're wrong and changing their mind is very important.
It is, and I'm glad you asked me why I thought this was a thumbs down.
I was about to, because like I don't have anything else. Like I wasn't sold on this episode the way I was in the first episode.
It's not eventful. Also, I would have pointed out before we were about to cut to you. I apologize.
No worries.
But the one thing I did notice is the CGI hasn't gotten bad yet, but
no, it has not.
It looks it did look a lot better when it was a Hulk next to a Hulk, and when it's Hulk next to people, it still looks fine, but especially because it's her who we said last time, because she's kind of like airbrushed because they want the pretty girl Hulk.
Right.
Like she looked a little bit less real than he did already.
Well, also, we had hypothesized last episode that it might be a case of we made it look good and pretty for the pilot, and now we're going to scale it back a little bit for the rest of the show.
And I don't think that's happened yet.
I think
just
you're
think
probably right on the it's not Hulk next to Hulk, because that does, anytime you have these two CGI characters, that's the comparison almost, because if you're watching Toy Story, you're not being like, well, they don't look realistic.
Right. The reason that Josh Brolin's Thanos looks, or Thanos, or whatever,
Thanos.
Or whatever Jeff calls it.
Yeah. Is he's always next to humans, and you're always like, he looks pretty good there.
Yeah.
They're just fighting a purple man.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. The frame of reference and the context around the CGI really does make or break it in a lot of cases. And so far in She-Hulk, they've done a pretty good job. I think they will probably continue to do a good job, especially after like the weird heat that Thor: Love and Thunder got for their CGI right after it came out. Like I remember there was like,
it's getting heat for everything, but
yeah, sure.
Let's stick here.
Let's stick here. And D, what did you not like about this episode?
Well, same kind of thing. I just think that like you have the money to make everything great, and I think they did the real benefit of this show, and why I think this is working, and I'm kind of enjoying this. I feel like as much as I enjoyed maybe like WandaVision, in the sense that like this really works, like the Disney Plus system, I think really works for a this show, like a meta show. It leans into the campy comedy of the
this
of the
probably
Marvel
could
universe.
not be a movie in this
And like
form,
that's and in a lot of ways that's where we are in Marvel. So like if you're gonna get something for 9 weeks, you know, like 9 episodes, these half-hour long episodes, like they should be breezy. It's really quick. They're really quick episodes.
We were surprised when this episode was done.
It's a very quick system. It doesn't overstay its welcome. But it does almost remind me a little bit of like those old kind of WB/UPN shows of like like of comedies where it's just like the characters are a little bit less three-dimensional. Like they're a little bit more carbony, which is fine because they're almost playing like parodies of themselves, which is par for the course, right? This is like the entourage of Marvel shows where it's like you're only getting this, but it's like so it's a setup episode. They're just what threw me was the dad stuff, for instance. Like I like that's all good. The character's all fine. And it's just that so far She-Hulk has given us a lot of important and I think almost expositional, for lack of a better term, like feminist or girl power scenes, like for the 21st century, for the current era of like she's kind of expressed these things like anger and fear. That's like the female's default. Like the episodes at this point of like there was a lot like there's also like a going trope in Marvel about like what positivity looks like so like the positive relationship with her father, the positive relationship which she had in the first episode with the females in the bathroom, the bar, like so like a lot of like that is another thing, and I'm like, okay, I get that. I don't want to be beat over the head a little bit with it, like so like but it's not that. That's the wrong way to put it. I'm not about being beat over the head with it. It's just a matter of like, okay, I've seen this a little bit before, and I also understand that they're talking to a younger audience that needs some of this. It hasn't spelled out.
It hasn't gotten quite Captain Marvel. I'm just a girl scene.
It's nowhere near that. It's nowhere near that. I think it's just
that was a scene.
I think it's no.
Well, it's the song plays.
It's just unnecessary. Just it's weird. But that's a story for another day. I just don't find them. They're perfectly serviceable, but they are not necessarily super. Like snappy, you know. There's not a lot of snap to it, and I feel like the She-Hulk actress, and I keep forgetting her name, but is just nailing every line to make it sound better than it is. And I feel like it's just like it's really drawing on this, and she's doing everything she can to make it like good. And I'm like, this should be better because she's doing a really good job, but it's just it's not like on the face of it bad. It's not bad. It's good. It's just I've seen it, and I feel like it's a little under me, and I'm hoping that as it builds and its audience or establishes what it is, I hope it gets a little more deeper into that. And I feel like we're still in that early stages that I'm not going to be satisfied with till like episode 5. But at the same token, you know, there's good things about this episode. Sorry.
Weirdly enough, I think that they do sort of the like sort of women's struggles in the workplace and women's positions of powers things better when like they do a few scenes where they don't really point it out, like in the bar scene where she's drunk talking to her boss and she gets fired. She's She-Hulk, and he basically is just like, this is a serious conversation, can you like, and he's clearly uncomfortable with her being powerful.
I want to talk about this scene distinctly, but But so this might be a good time to jump. Let's jump into the recap because these got to be short.
There's not a whole lot. She gets fired from her
it.
job, and then she spends the.
So we get little Easter egg. It does say change it to She-Hulk for hire instead of She-Hulk. Attorney at law changes to attorney for hire, which is a nice little homage to Heroes for Hire and stuff like that. So that was neat, and I didn't notice that to the second time around.
Super cool. And she gets fired for being She-Hulk and ruining the case. And the DA's office is like, well, we can't. You're clearly a liability,
right?
And every law office in California seems to agree.
Is this how? We get a recap on this, and then she goes drinking at a lawyer bar.
Yep, she goes drinking, and she gets offered a job.
So I have a couple of notes on this. There's the one guy who was introduced. He's the chauvinist.
Yeah. He was outside the court steps. He was being interviewed.
Second scene, he's there to kind of be just a
bystander,
just a douchebag guy. He has some kind of role here. I think he's also potentially going to get hired by this thing. I imagine that's the only way he stays relevant, unless they just see him at the bar all the time or whatever. But because he was clearly in prosecution, I guess, before.
I mean, he's another. He could also be like the opponent lawyer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is he could be that?
Oh, I thought you meant the guy they interviewed outside the court.
No. This is like the little. This is this guy who's
her coworker from the DA's office.
But he has the great. He has the absurd line of "There's a hot chick. I'm gonna go talk to it."
Yeah, talk to it.
Which is like, it's a funny line, and that is another thing where I'm just like, it's not bad. It's not good enough for, I think, the overall point that you're really making, which is like, it's a little too on the nose of like
it's almost the full nose.
It's like, oh, he's completely objectified. And I'm like, okay, it's kind of funny and it's all well delivered. It's just. I just feel it just feels a little trite. It's not trite. I again just hope this is like kind of building that world where now you get that now you're in on it and we can do subtler jokes to that end.
Yeah.
So and that's where I'm like, all right, I'll give it some benefit of the doubt that where you have to do a little world building for your audience, and I think that's a good way to go. But this guy, I'm also hoping that like I hope this character, if he is going to be a consistent one, isn't just a one note idiot. Like. I hope that like he has some dimension to him, or he's not. He's a prosecutor. He wants to put bad guys in jail, arguably, right? Mm-hmm. And like it would be nice to have some kind of like some dimension to these guys. I don't mind them 2 episodes in just setting him up as like a douchebag though, but I would like to hope that they have some of that, and I haven't seen that. I think a really great show really adds dimension, and you can see that in the characters already. And a lot of these characters are a little flat. But this gets us to this scene that you're talking about, which I think is a really important scene. We talked about it, the drunk scene where she's Hulk. She goes in. Everyone wants to see She-Hulk that she's named, and basically the guy, her boss, wants to have a serious conversation and has her go down. And it's clearly they shoot it from above to show you that he looks small and he feels small in this moment, and then she shrinks down and is immediately drunk. And this is where I think you felt weird in this. And this is where I was asking before. I was like, was it just the biology of it, or was it like, no, that unnerved me. It was like, this is a serious conversation. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, and what unnerved me is that she does it, right? And it unnerves me not because I think it's bad like writing for the character. I think it's perfectly in line for where I think they're going with this character and what they're trying to do with her. But I don't know if it fully landed on the screen because it's really quick, and I don't know if they tell the story that she has respect for the guy that she's worked for. Like, she's just doing that, and she's not used to this yet. She's not used to the power. She's not comfortable. She didn't even want to go in as Hulk initially. So the first person that says, "Oh, go," it's fine, right? So she kind of acknowledges it, but like, so this is I think a well done scene. I think it's going to be well done as this whole story progresses, but I don't know. It just seemed like here, like she was. It was a little confusing for me. Like I know what they were doing, but I don't know if like everything that was going on was being sold on the screen. But it was so unnerving that and that's where it worked for me. That's where I don't know if it worked for everybody, but like as I'm watching this, I'm knowing what's happening, and like that she's literally shrinking down and getting drunk as a result. And they play it for like kind of a laugh and a bit that she's as a cold open. But like this was just unnerving to me.
Yeah,
it's
the sense of powerlessness and then somebody's in charge,
and she's immediately drunk as a result. So not only did she give into that, but she also like immediately suffered as a result and looked worse as a result. And that's such a, I think, well done metaphor. I'm not sure if it fully sold to the audience because it also kind of played as a joke.
It did play as a joke, and that
because she's realizing that she's fired. Like,
yeah, and she's clearly like acting silly because she's drunk, and it's like, well, it's this man just exercising his power over her. I think you're right. I think that is part of it that made me really uncomfortable.
And without, I don't think this guy has ill will any more than the system is stupid, which is another thing that I think we're going to see.
Yeah,
because what he's doing is even if you kind of, because they do, I think, play this well, where it's just like, well, I can't. It's too much of an issue.
Yeah,
like,
you're a liability
now. And we lost the case of it. And it's like, you can say that on the surface and you're like, okay, I kind of get that. But you're like, no, that's kind of a dick move. Meanwhile, that leads us to, I don't know, what happens after the opening? Because the next thing I remember is getting hired. But obviously there's a little.
She just goes through this like period of like every law office in the area telling her, no, I'm sorry, you're a liability.
Mm-hmm.
Then she goes and has family dinner where we meet Ched, the other genius in the family who just got promoted to manager at Best Buy, guys.
That was pretty funny.
And not to belittle managers at Best Buy, because I worked retail for years. Yeah, they kind of dig at her, too.
Yeah, I was like, Jesus.
I'm like, guys, she's a fucking lawyer. Like, and not to belittle managers of Best Buys. I've been retail for fucking years. My fiance is retail. A lot of my family is retail. But like the way they frame it, of him just be like, "Yeah, you got fired, huh? Well, I just got promoted. I'm manager at Best Buy." It's like, fuck you, Ched. Shut the fuck up. No one was asking you.
Nobody's even named Ched.
Yeah, that's such a weird, dumb name.
It's a fake name.
Is your full name Cheddar?
I hope so. And then like they really highlight him just being an asshole. They have that joke mid-credit scene where she's just helping her family around the house with chores because she's big and strong, and she's like holding a car up while Ched is trying to like change a tire and he can't fucking do it. And then she like
also started trying to sell her dad a
4K TV, which she hangs. Then Ched comes through like eating some food. He's like, I could have done that. It's like, well, you didn't, Ched. Fucking Jennifer did. Shut the fuck up, Ched. We were supposed to hate that character, and they did a good job. I do not like Ched, even if he is a genius that
Ched, here
refuses
of the series.
to apply himself.
Colin and Alf, here of the series.
I wonder if that was a joke by Bruce in the first episode.
Of course is. What do you?
I mean, now that we see the punchline to that joke, I guess yeah. But maybe Ched is like secretly a genius, and he just doesn't apply himself.
I generally understand the joke in the first episode when they said, "Oh, you're not the only Jesus of the family," and he's like, "Yeah, there's always Ched." If his name was "There's always Stuart," I don't get it. His name was Ched. I got the joke. All right.
Fair enough.
So, all right. So she gets hired by the law firm that she just lost to through technicality, right? This is the guy that hires her. Do we know his name?
Yes, his name begins with an H,
Holloway.
and it is Holloway. Yes.
So
Mr.
apparently
Holloway.
in the comics,
Holden Holloway.
It's actually in reverse that he says he hires her, but tells her that she must be in Jennifer Walters form and not She-Hulk form. Which is an interesting little twist on it, but I mean, who in what iteration, whatever. But I love that it's kind of reversed there. What I am like. So this guy is, I
like
he. I love this guy. He is nakedly evil. He has a line. He's talking to his secretary, and he says something like, "Oh, and fire. Let Jim go.
Let Jim go,
and just that's it. That's it.
Yep.
And
tell so and so.
Send Mike to
Minneapolis.
He
hates the cold.
He hates the cold.
Just tell him.
Tell him I said that.
Yeah.
Like what he's saying is saying, no, what he says is like, I know he hates the cold. Tell him I said that. Tell him that I know he hates the cold, and I'm sending him to me.
And he has this conversation with his secretary in front of Jen.
And it's just so negatively evil, right? Meanwhile, he's hiring her because she's She-Hulk with the stipulation that she specifically takes this case with Tim Roth's character.
He's going
Emil.
for spectacle.
So, well, no, I'm not even thinking spectacle. No. That's what's going to keep her there. Is my guess. My guess is that no, 100%. She is specifically here for the Emil case because he specifically asked for it, or she's there. She's there to create a parody that they are already exploiting her as new to the superhero world, and they're like, she works for us because she creates. Oh, no. Hulk, Banner's own cousin, is representing him. He is a reform. What better show of reform do you have?
Right.
It's not even because she's She-Hulk. It's because, but Hulk.
Spectacle is not the right word. It's more drama.
It's more just sympathy for the. It's just the image to the Chris. So
narrative.
I think she's hired literally for this, and that is a whole other thing where I'm just like, okay, so that gets me to some more exciting things as to like where she debates about whether she can do this. So I do think that like where this might go is that the plan was to just fire her afterwards. She's going to, the Blonsky case is going to become much bigger than that. She's going to become essentially she's going to be too much of a good image, good PR to let go. Like, no, they're going to lean into it.
Yeah.
And that's all that's going to happen. And I love it that this guy will just like, he's malleable. Be like, oh, no, this works for me too. Like, he'll just change his plans because he's a corporate, evil mastermind.
As long as he gets the ends he wants, he doesn't really care about the means.
Right. So that's my guess.
But what are
for
his
this
ends?
Right. So
have I touched on a note?
No, not yet. But
no,
he's really funny.
I do like his little chuckle in the hallway of where he's
being agnostic.
Yeah, where she's being agnostic to it, and he like is like runs through it all of just like that's so strange, unprecedented, and he goes ha ha ha, and he like what?
Well,
that
joke
is like
there.
He's just saying that he plays it well. Like he reminded me of Holt in Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yes,
like his reaction, like unprecedented.
So the joke there, Troy, is that she's doing a fourth wall break talking to us while he's talking to her. So we don't know what she just said she's agnostic towards. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't the offer. He could have been talking about peanut butter and jelly, for all we know. And she just said that she was agnostic towards it. And then she goes back to the camera and she was like, I'm going to worry about that for the next year. And I'm just like, yeah, they're fucking hilarious. Because he could have been asking her about, like, her favorite Sunday toppings.
I actually didn't catch that.
The idea is that... by the way, this is just leading me to believe that anyone asking you something like, what is your feelings of the topic, and saying you're agnostic on it is a great go-to. But
oh, absolutely.
But and my new go-to. But I think the idea is that
how do you feel about this podcast?
Agnostic.
No. Straight atheist.
How do you feel about this podcast?
Pretty agnostic on that.
How do you feel about Jeff?
TBD.
Anyway, I didn't even get an agnostic.
Nah, TBD. That's better. The opposite of love is apathy. Remember that.
Why?
Deep thoughts with D. The D stands for deep.
Deep thoughts with the deep is my favorite meme.
It's okay. Okay, so the next, I forget what I was even about. So let's just move on. The next scene, she goes to meet Blonsky, right?
Yeah. So she goes to meet Blonsky, and
so my note here is Tim Roth is a gift.
Tim Roth is an absolute gift, and Abomination.
Go watch Lie to Me seasons 1 and 2. Probably streaming somewhere.
And Abomination is now in the MCU. He kind of was in Hulk 2? Thor 2?
He was also in Shang-Chi.
No.
Shang-Chi, that's right.
No, listen, his 2 Marvel appearances are, of course, he is in the second Marvel movie, Incredible Hulk, with Edward Norton.
Yes.
Pre-Disney.
And And he's of course no, he's not. I don't know if he even has. I don't even know if he has lines. I don't know if he had lines. I don't remember it beyond grunting. And if he did have lines, I don't know if they were said by Tim Roth in the movie. But his CGI version,
in the fighting pits in Shang-Chi,
he's there. So
that was pretty cool.
The character's there. I don't know if Tim Roth is.
Yeah, but now Shang-Chi, but now Abomination is there in all of its glory. We got Emil Blonsky, and he's a changed man, we think. He has written haikus to his victims, and he feels deep sorrow for their suffering. And he's a victim of the system because he was a well-decorated Marine before the government pumped shit into him and turned him into Abomination.
So the whole explanation that he gives, I think, is really cool. I think that it is subtle enough to not stand out enough, which is a weird way to say it, but like what he's doing is really good. And they're calling it out, like they're all doing it in the scene. Like all the stuff is there on the surface, like where it's just a little uneventful is the only thing I would say to it. Like it needed a little punch. There needed to be like an exclamation point, and that's what I think is missing from some of these scenes. Like everything is good, but it's missing like those bangs, like a bang to kind of make it all work, right? Like it's not saying to say that there's no punchline. It's that the punchline isn't snappy enough. The whole setup is beautiful. Like the whole style is really good, but like it's missing that, and it's kind of making it like fall a little flat. But these are all good compliments. I think ones that can land later. But
I don't have a perfect drop for this, but this is gonna have to be good enough.
I agree with Jeff,
and in this case, Jeff is D.
Right. I got that. So here's what happens is that his whole thing is that he's clearly saying all the right things, and there's so many layers to what this is. She recognizes that she reads it as saying things that I want to hear, and it's like, well, of course she is, because I think he's been absolutely trained to do this. Like he's absolutely saying all these things because like you need to. Like she immediately buys into like this. So wait, the serum made you do this? And honestly, in so many ways, it really did. At the very least, you could draw Thunderbird Rawson into like pushing this along, and he's truly responsible for the crimes that he let loose. And
which, if you're a really good lawyer, that's the angle
that's
you would
what you would take. Like it's all him. So I think putting it on Blonsky in the first place is bullshit. To throw it there, but what he says. So she calls all that out. And he's interesting. That's an interesting play, and what is really interesting is how perfectly not perfect he is. Like he's saying the right things, but he's also being nakedly selfish, right? And very clearly, and almost purposely clearly to her, being nakedly like, I'm telling you the things I want to hear because I want to be free, and the reasoning being, I want to be free and go fuck these
7 pen pals at a commune.
So the issue is that his motivations, his selfish motivations, are actually, I think, being hidden. By giving them a lesser selfish motivation. That his selfish motivation is just to like be free and get off the hook. And hey, guess what? I may have a fucking point. So that's the issue. Whereas really, he's trying to get off. This is the only way to get.
Oh, he's trying to get off.
This is the only way to make him part of the ultimate. Make him part of the Thunderbolts. This is probably the only way to really make it happen. They have to use. The only way to get balance or the public support is to have a Hulk in his corner. Like, I think she's being manipulated from the get-go.
Absolutely.
And she's never going to believe that he's just a totally reformed dude. The idea is to say, no, I'm a criminal, fine, but I'm not, like, as bad as, like, what he very clearly is.
Yeah, that was obviously Holloway's play from the beginning. Like, he tried to kill her cousin. Now she's representing him.
So this is where I'm not fully... I'm not sure what to make of the series yet, because I feel like what that scene is played for is the on the surface of it, where it's just like she's buying into, oh, you're clearly kind of a criminal, and I'm not sure about you. You're a bad guy, but you may have a point here, and I'm going to fight for you. And they're playing that like just on that surface level, and I'm looking at it like, oh, this is so much more than that. And I'm not. I don't think we as an audience are quote unquote supposed to see the deeper like play here, and that's where I'm like, I don't. that's where I'm like, I don't know where this falls. Is this because they need to hold the audience's hand at this point? Because is this that they're just talking to the audience that's younger and is like, or is not as adept at this and is just kind of because if they're talking down to the and this is how they're going to play forever, I'm kind of like I see this coming a mile away. And if it's just kind of building, then and it's going to get better as it kind of builds its pace, then I'm okay with it. But I felt this was a little weird.
Maybe I always have a weird opinion about lawyers and people that are presumed to be criminals or people that are in jail, because as a kid I took AP Government and I learned like the Constitution applies to everyone no matter what you may have done. And I had a friend, his dad was a public defender, and he told his son, like, everyone deserves to be represented fairly in court. Everyone deserves to have their rights, represented. And so even right now, I'm like, yeah, Blonsky's in jail, but like, maybe he deserves parole. Maybe he's got a point. Maybe there's some constitutional right of his that was violated when the government borrowed him from the Royal Marines and pumped him full of drugs.
And this is her stance, right? No, I'd get buys.
He should be locked up for murdering people, and I don't think his remorse is genuine. But I mean,
so from what I'm reading for this is that like most audiences are just going to read into exactly what is portrayed on the screen, like that, like, oh yeah, I could see that, and yeah, I could see her buying it, and I could see him just as this kind of harmless, but like a criminal, but harmless.
I think you just laid out why I didn't like this episode. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. It feels like they're spelling everything out for me or presenting everything at face value, and they don't want me to dig deeper. They don't have faith in me as the viewer to put two and two together.
Like I this could also be to the take of just like I just am well versed in these things and like look deep into like, oh, they're doing a whole bunch of things. So this leads me to the next thing that I have to talk about. That he says, oh, the elephant in the room is I
tried to kill Bruce.
Tried to kill Bruce, all this stuff. Then she eventually calls Bruce to do this, right?
She wants to get his blessing for representing him.
Now, I don't know if there's any scenes that I'm skipping over in between that we can jump to if we need to.
No. It's only a 23-minute episode.
Before we jump there, I do want to talk about this scene because as she walks into the prison, this line threw me, and I want to get your guys' take on it. She's talking to the prison guards, and as he's telling them all these rules, I feel like those lasers have to come into play later. There's like a laser wall that comes in, and like she's like just walked towards it, and they like the lasers rise. This is the most apparently lightsabers, by the way, exist in the Marvel universe. Just so we are clear.
I mean, Disney owns both. There's no reason why they can't.
I'm just saying because the lasers lift up and stop at no junction point. They don't like disappear in those sections. They stop at her head level where her head ends.
Yep.
And like a lightsaber would, like it has like an own endpoint, and then lets her by. It's basically like a faith walk. It's like you have to walk and just have faith that the lasers
have faith that you won't get sliced.
It's an automatic door, but the door's lasers.
Yeah.
and it's just like, just go. Just gotta want to.
I imagine that in the lore of the show, they probably have like the DNA of like Blonsky programmed into the lasers, so if they detect it, they won't retract.
Well, that was hardly my thing. I just thought that was an odd choice.
Can you adjust the length of the lightsaber blade?
So
don't answer that. I know you have an answer.
In Spaceballs, you can. In Spaceballs, you can. I see your Schwartz is as big as mine.
Is as big as mine.
So then she's making comments and he's saying all the rules, and then she's like, and then we'll have a nice Chianti with some fava beans. Does the Silence of the Lambs reference, right?
Yep.
And the guard turns and goes, "Ma'am, this is a prison."
Yep.
and so I know that line was played for a joke, and just it was, and this is like this encapsulates so far the right on this show a little bit in a nutshell, where it's like that. I know it's clearly structured like a punchline. It's clearly structured in this ways. I'm feeling like it's kind of funny, but I'm not fully experiencing it, and I can think about the joke. But this is like, isn't this the classic of just like, that didn't land at all? And there's something weird about this. Like, so let me ask you, you laughed at this immediately. but you also laugh when you know there's supposed to be a punchline. So I don't know if
No,
like,
you're right.
like,
I am the worst person. I earlier her
Jeff laughs at grocery lists.
You're not wrong.
If you say it in the right tone, Jeff will laugh if like at carrots. Like, and that's why he said carrots. Like,
I literally just laughed.
yeah, but
I'm not the frame of reference you should use. Her dad was giving her some like pep talk in the garage, and it was really just her unloading on him and him saying, "You're gonna be fine, sweetie. You're still standing." And I started like getting choked up, and I'm just like, "Dude, what are you doing? This is not the time to get choked up. It's fine."
Yeah, your reactions are weird.
I'd like to point everybody to our Space Jam 2 review where he said he was crying to the kid.
I am overtly emotional, and I hate that I am, but I acknowledge that I am.
But I also love that about you.
Thank you.
It's your worst and best feature.
I have no emotion, so I don't feel a whole lot towards it.
We get it. You're everything.
I'm agnostic towards it.
So
I'm agnostic towards emotions.
interesting. Unprecedented. Great. No worries. Okay, so she goes. The guy says, "Like, man, this is a prison." Okay. I think this is where I think happened that she's supposed to be rambling. It didn't come off as rambling because really the only like kind of goofy thing that she said was like, and then we'll have some
fava beans and Chianti,
which is one kind of goofy thing. So what they went for was that he said, "Ma'am, this is a prison," which is the mimic structure of "Ma'am, this is a Wendy's."
Yeah.
Like, or "Ma'am, this is a whatever."
Yeah. No, that's the meme.
And so I realized, I'm like, man, because I originally was like, "Ma'am, this is a prison," and I was like, wait, what is that joke? What? I was like, I knew it was a joke, but I'm like, what is this trying to say? And like, "Ma'am, this is a prison," and like, I was like, I can only land on like, she's like, you're being ridiculous, like that. And so it's like, so it is that setup of like, "Ma'am, this is a Wendy's," or like it's "Ma'am, this is a prison," but she wasn't nearly being ridiculous enough or like rambling enough, and she has done that 2 other times in this episode with her father and with Ed. This is not the time where she's rambling, where that joke would actually land. Everyone's trying to cut in and do this stuff. Like if you, "Ma'am, this is a prison."
If I had believed in
Like,
some more depth to this show,
and that line, and this is "Ma'am, this is a prison," doesn't homage "Ma'am, this is a Wendy's" enough to make me actually realize that that's what they're referencing. Like, so I totally don't get this joke.
right, and if I had more faith in the depth of this show, I would say that it's probably like, oh, she was talking and he was like, "Shut up, silly woman, this is a prison. Big man here, prison guard." But I don't believe that there was any other undertones to that other than just, going for the stupid, silly joke. You're right, it doesn't play because everything she says before that joke is just like questions about the actual nature of this prison that houses supervillains that she's probably never been in before.
And I feel like
and has no idea about.
This is where they're doing a lot of things right, and you have to remind me of She-Hulk's actress's name again.
It is Tatiana Maslany.
Tatiana is doing such a amazing job all the time, and she's so...
Oh yeah, none of my complaints about this show lie with her.
No. What I'm saying is that she is so engaged, so kind of winning, and so subtly so that I don't realize sometimes that like it's not that I don't realize. I'm realizing, but I don't seem to care when scenes don't really land. But I'm noticing because it's kind of written well enough that it's jarring when it doesn't land. It's a very odd experience that I'm getting so far, and I have to imagine that this is just like it's a different show. They're getting their footing. I feel like there's really good things about this, but so far it's not. It's not like prestige enough for me. Like I really want it to be really good. I want it to be like Rick and Morty funny at times, and I'm wondering if you can get there. So
I mean, and that's a reasonable expectation because Jessica Gao, who writes the show, her biggest claim to fame in recent history is writing Pickle Rick, which is regarded as one of the best episodes of Rick and Morty. So I mean, and is it unfair of us to expect her to catch lightning in a bottle twice? Maybe. But
no,
I
think there's just a lot going on with the show. It's a lot of heavy lifting. There's a lot of moving parts. I think it's amazing how smoothly things are going so far. I think it's at the expense of sticking a landing. weirdly. So I'm hoping that it kind of starts to come together a little bit more. But here's what really happens. She calls Bruce. And Bruce is revealed to be on a spaceship.
Yes.
The same spaceship from the first episode.
Yes.
Yes. And the Sakar cruise ship. So he says here in this scene, basically, we talked long ago, it's all water to the bridge, right? So he gives it a total blessing, right? As he's on his way to space, so this can never be corroborated again or talked about. And what he says is, it was a long time ago, I'm a totally different person now.
Literally.
Which they've caught out, and everybody who's smart will realize, everyone who's will realize that that's cute that you're jumping to that, but no, if you had waited a second, it would have been a better reveal, but thank you for ruining it.
I'll edit it if you want.
It's okay. So I'd rather have the higher ground. No. So what it was played for was the meta joke here. Again, I don't think it fully landed. It might, and it'll probably catch on for people for the meme verse, but no, it's literally referencing the fact that he is no longer played by Edward Norton and is now played by a totally different actor. But I don't think that's literally what they're doing. I think that's what they're saying. Hey, it's a great line, isn't it? What it really meant, though, is I'm a totally different person. He literally blew off a human thing, and he's now going to space, right? Mm-hmm. And he's saying, I'm actually I'm a totally different person here. He's basically doing, oh no, it's all good. He even says, it sounds like you already made your choice. He's reading her. As a Skrull, he's like, I think I know what to say here. And just the easiest thing to do in that case, if he is a Skrull, is to just be like, you know what? It sounds like you already made up your mind. If I say no, it's going to actually cause more of a confrontation. So all I want to do is cut this off. So if he's a Skrull, it's perfect sense, right? That he's literally painting it on a lampshade to be like, it is. I'm a totally different person now.
Yeah, you think he's smart Skrull Hulk, smart Skrull.
And they're hiding it under a meta joke of Edward Norton doing this. Now, if I rewind back to the first episode and the fucking crash in the first place, what are they there for? A lot of people are speculating it's Sakar, and it's which is Hulk's son. That those 2 years where he is not Banner, where he's Hulk all the time in Ragnarok, that he probably banged. And he has a son that he doesn't know about, which I think is a great storyline for them to get into, and that's what he's being called back for. But his nonchalance at that carrier knocking them over is like, oh yeah, and him knowing what it is, and him saying, oh yeah, I gotta get to the bottom of that, and like, oh, that's his knowledge of it, all that stuff leads me to believe he's a Skrull from space that recognizes all this shit. And he's like, yeah, I got to get to the bottom of that, because he's like, I don't know what the fuck that's about. He's like, because I think it is probably something legitimately related to Banner Hulk. And what he's doing is he's like, I don't fucking know what that is, but I'm not going to. He's like, yeah, I got to get to the bottom of that. So this may be a Skrull Hulk this entire time, and he's a perfect person to be like, yeah. They clearly couldn't get Hulk perfectly, and they get this. Now, the problem with that is that if he's Hulk, if he's Skrull there, or is that the moment he's replaced?
In that second episode, on the show?
Well, she blacks out.
That actually makes more sense because he had to turn into She-Hulk, he has to be him then.
Yeah.
But it still tracks because we don't see him after She-Hulk's out, and he could be replaced right then. Boom. Now they're like, oh, we need to talk to you about shit. Come back here.
Yeah, we need to talk to you about your car's extended warranty. We need you back, please.
Yeah, so I'm thinking all the people, and they're hiding under speculation about Sakar or Hulk's son, but I think it's probably more likely to be about him in a Skrull.
I think that's a super, super, super valid point. I hated you when you suggested Skrulls last time we talked about them. But this time, I think you have a point.
I think we have a legitimate Skrull watch. I am confident.
A Scrotch.
Yes.
Ew.
Very good. Very
good.
Ew.
I don't see the problem.
We have
just a Skrull
an
watch.
official Scrotch. Scrotch currently, my official list. I think we should all have an official list.
We should have a Scrotch list.
That we should have a Scrotch
Scritch.
list. A Scritch.
Scritched? Why is it getting harder to
it's harder.
say?
It's
Hey guys, you know what? No,
Watch.
none of that.
Squatch. We're gonna have a Squatch list. The Squatch list is Hulk for me and Photon or whoever was in WandaVision.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you're correct.
What's her name?
Those two.
Monica?
Those two are my
Monica Rambeau.
Those two are my definite scrolls.
Definite scrolls.
Definite scrolls. I don't have any other definite set. Do you guys have any other? Do you agree with those? What's up?
Spider-Man. No, I was just throwing out a bizarre suggestion. Robert Downey Jr. didn't die. It was a Skrull who snapped his
You
fingers.
can just say no, Jeff.
Iron Man's out there.
You can just say no. I don't have any guesses.
I can.
Troy?
I can say.
What about...
No.
Okay. I don't think I do at the moment.
No,
I will get back to you.
I really think
the
the Skrull theory has legs, and that's one that I actually have not seen online yet.
Oh, you will.
I definitely will after this episode, I'm sure. But I'm fascinated
because here's the other thing I have to it. They are going to. What'll happen eventually is they will call out Hulk early on when they start doing Skrull invasion stuff, Secret Invasion, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Secret Wars are coming up next year.
They're gonna call him out. They're gonna call him out and say, "Oh, you're like Smart Hulk now. Like you've changed like pretty distinctly. Like that doesn't track." And then they're going to eliminate him as a candidate by him proving like, no, I really did do this, or it'll be just a message from Tony Stark that says like, no, we did, like we finally, like it's going to be something that kind of negates him as a because he didn't get replaced during the blip. And the truth is that he's going to get replaced this moment in She-Hulk in that first episode, and that like because those are like good things when you immediately look at somebody who's literally looks like a Skrull almost already. He has all those telltale signs, and then you eliminate them early on just so that you can, forget it. You totally forget about them.
Now here's a question, and this
classic
is
Law and Order.
This is totally because different production companies attempts to separate yourself from the movie, make it your own thing, and make it more comic book accurate. But not only does Abomination now look like comic book Abomination, where he has like the fin ears, but also like it's more scrolly than the first one looks. Is there a way that you could combine that and also in the way of we made up years ago, that's all water under the bridge? We talked about it.
Could be.
Oh, I mean, they still have yet to explain Abomination being in the fight pits in Shang-Chi.
I think they're about to get into that.
They are about to get into it because that was the way this episode ended. But like, that could be a nice, easy way of saying like, oh, that's the real one out there running around. This is the Skrull.
I hope that's the next episode, and I'm very intrigued to see where that's going because clearly the only other thing in this episode really is just the fact that like she realizes that that information Blonsky has escaped from prison and is been seen in fighting pits in Japan, which we saw from Shang-Chi. So it seems to me pretty obvious that for some reason that's we do not know yet, Wong got him out of prison, needed him to fight in these pits, and then brought him there for that exact reason, and literally opens up. And if I'm not mistaken, in Shang-Chi, they open up to like an office, like a pretty.
Yeah,
I think he's going to literally open up Blonsky into her office, and I think that you're just going to have them go from that scene right here, and we're going to find out why he was there. Oh. And I think it has to do something with Shang-Chi's the rings and what he was, because he comes in at the end of that episode, and so does Banner. And although that doesn't track with the time if he has his.
Not necessarily, but I'm curious to see what happens that brings Wong into this and what happens to bring Matt Murdock into this. Because Daredevil, keep in mind, is in New York, and he's in this show. Something big fucking happens to bring him from New York to L.A.
No, it does track. Human Hulk is at the end of Shang-Chi in the end credit scene.
Yeah, but...
He's hologrammed in.
He's arguably already past Human Hulk now. Like
Dee's argument is that everything in Shang-Chi happened in the past.
And the issue being that they weren't. The first episode was not supposed to be aired until episode 8. They may have always had a time issue, but one that would have been way less noticeable if this happened as a flashback if episode 1 happened at episode 8 as a flashback. You would have not put those things together as because you would have easily just mixed it up like, oh, that happened so much earlier. It just happened, but in the timeline, I don't think that makes sense.
I don't know either. But like everything in Marvel is just wacky, wonky, and they can just say that up is down and just make it happen. Yeah. So I've never really held timelines to a...
Listen, it's like scheduling at any place that I like any school and stuff like that. Like I don't know how y'all do it. There's it is a sea of crazy to schedule this, and what Marvel has managed to do for so long, and they are just juggling so many balls at this point. It's insane. I don't know what you do with it, but like they are like it's this I've been talking a lot about Marvel shows middling because they are like there's just so many balls in the air. How can you give your all to any of these things? How can full passion be in any of them if you're constantly if you're looking so far down the line? It's so many things in the building, and they'll never have those small shows again. Like very rarely, I think, or unless they find a way to market them differently. But like I think that it's really fascinating to see see the Marvel Cinematic Universe evolve the same way in so many ways that the comic universe evolved. Like it is where you're seeing all the eras of storytelling comics like emerge, and you were just now and it's faster, but it's this emergence now of like, okay, now you live in a Marvel world. Now there's and they're building like the superhero. They're creating all the lore, the mythos of like the world building of like how does the law work in this world? Well, there's superhero law now, and there's this, and there's Covey Accords, and it's a full blown fantasy world that was built from the world outside your window. And this is always like the dichotomy to me is like at some point this is just a huge fucking world. Like and I think there's something that happened in the 80s, like in the 80s and before the late 80s stuff. You had a very condensed Marvel universe. You had basically Chris Claremont writing X-Men and Avengers, and everything was continuous. Like Wolverine wouldn't be in an issue of X-Men because he was appearing in Avengers. Like it was very much so like contained. And there was this big thing that starts to happen in the late 90s where they just started throwing Wolverine in every issue of every book every month. And it was like, well, how is he there if it was just he's everywhere. It doesn't matter. They're there. There's no explanation. There's no reference to the fact that they're somewhere else. That
they're different totally universes until they're not.
Yeah, it's just these are just things that are happening. And now it's like we're gonna evolve into that world where it's just there's a whole world going on and we live in it, and anything you see is happening. It's just happening in between the moments that you're not seeing. And that's where it's like, well, that doesn't work for the cinematic universe, and that's going to be an ultimate shift. We're at the stage now where it's getting too heavy to juggle, and you're going to have to be like, well, it doesn't matter. It's
kind of how I've been for the last several years with Marvel.
Or it just falls into this like middling, like, are you pretending that it mattered? Like when it clearly hasn't. Like, and that's that they're gonna have to make a decision as to how they breach this. But there is, if you guys didn't notice, a quick. Everyone's talking about this. There's a newspaper ad in the episode that shows a man with claws in pub brawl. Yeah. So Wolverine sighting number 1.
Yeah. All right, that about takes us to the end of the
I'm
episode.
sorry, guys. I had a lot to say at the end here. But
Hour-long podcast about a 23-minute TV show.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's all right.
That's
I'm
good.
just
That's a
laughing at
good
it.
thing, I think.
No, yeah. There was a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack, and a lot to discuss. But that wraps it up for this week on She-Hulk. Tune in next week for the next episode of She-Hulk. Tune in next week for the next episode of House of the Dragon. And in a couple weeks, we'll be starting our Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power coverage.
Send us your Squatch lists.
Okay.
You know what? Just send money.
Where's more money?
So if you liked what you heard, go ahead and please leave us a kind review on your favorite podcasting platform. 5 stars, all that fun stuff. You can hit us up on patreon.com/TBANDJ podcast or ko-fi.com/TBANDJ podcast if you want to join an awesome community and you feel like this podcast is worth more than $0. If not, totally get it. We understand, and just like and share and all those fun things as well. Thank you, Troy, for being here.
You're welcome.
Thank you, D, for being here.
You're welcome.
That's it. Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks for being here, Jeff.
Oh, thanks, guys. It's a thankless job being the producer, editor, host,
And the Jeff.
and the dude. That's the hardest job of all. He's got bills.
Is it hard being modest?
Man shot 7 times in chest, drives and walks into his favorite Wawa before 911 picks him up.
I'll take that as a yes.
Squatch.